Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video, we did have a nice freaking dip today, which creates what? A lot of buying opportunities right now where there is blood in the streets. These are the times to take advantage. These are not the times to be selling, capitulating, being worried. These are the times where it makes sense to take advantage, right? So we're going to talk about what we're looking at, what we're buying, what we're kind of not buying, what we're eyeing, narratives, just different DCA goals here and things to kind of keep in mind in order to take advantage of this potentially last mega dip, right? Maybe we get more, maybe we get better opportunities, but times like these is where you want to consider jumping in, okay? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned. Let's get right to this thing. So good way to start the morning today with this nice little dip. It did dip a pretty good amount, especially BTC did hit a low of about 89.6. Will it continue further? Potentially. It has recovered quite a bit. It's up to 91.6 now, but could be a dead cat bounce. Just could be a lot of whale games. We know that there is a lot of manipulation during these times, whether we have mega pumps, mega dumps. It's going to be extremely volatile, right? So although it did dip a good amount, that doesn't mean like, oh, okay, I went 100% in. Kind of just playing it by ear, and at this point, kind of nibbling. Did buy a decent amount, mainly because it was coins that I didn't think I was going to purchase any more of, but because the price was appealing enough for me to jump in. As we go down the list, because what we want to focus on, or at least for me, where my focus is here, are the alts. Okay, so depending on what you're looking at, this is why it's important for you to have kind of goals set up, allocation goals, like price targets, so that way if it does hit those ranges, this is easy to take advantage of, right? You know what you're kind of lacking in. You see the price, you see it's a good time. This is where you want to stack in. Or maybe certain coins didn't dip as much and maybe you're kind of skipping those and you're going into others, right? So when you are ready for these things, it makes these opportunities super easy, right? Instead of just sitting here staring at the charts and like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Trying to select out of the 50,000 cryptos that are there, you are already ready to go, right? You already had a target. You're going to see if it hits it, if it gets close to it, and you're going to adjust, right? As we go down the list, again, alts are where it looks pretty good. I mean, some of them, again, it really depends on the coin and your goals here. So although it is a nice dip, in reality, if you've been accruing this whole time, is it the greatest dip? And if we compare it to like a few months ago, not necessarily, but again, this is a good time to kind of finish out those bags, finish out some of those accumulation goals, because I didn't see some of these retracing as much, right? Like a good example of one that to me, it's still crazy high. Solana, it's 178. Although it is one, if you want to finish your bag, potentially get to. It's hard to say when you're buying this thing under like 20 bucks for a long time. It's hard to recommend buying that just because again, it's already ran up so much. Realistically, for me at least, I'm looking at things that have more potential upside. Okay, even as far as like safer bets go, like one that I did buy is realistically one that doesn't have a ton of upside, but it is a higher confidence play that I did want to accrue more of, and unfortunately didn't accrue enough of these past few years. That is AVAX. So AVAX did go down to 34 bucks. It was at 50 something dollars just a few weeks ago. So it is one that did have a healthy pullback, although even a few months ago it was still cheaper. It was sub $30. Realistically, that was my target. I was looking for 30 or potentially under, but this is kind of close enough. Looks like the reversal is happening, and although this isn't one that has a ton of potential upside, this is one I feel more confident in and having at least a solid 3 to 4x. Like I feel extremely confident it's going to hit that 100, 120, maybe beyond that goal target, right? So for me, I wanted to finish out that bag, add at least a little bit more. Am I going all in and finishing at 100%? No, realistically, I'm have more cash on the side and I'm waiting for a potentially bigger dip, which realistically, it's probably not going to happen, to tell you the truth. Okay, but I do want to have some aside just in case we do have a more significant dip. Something really significant happens, BTC goes down to 85, 80, 70. Maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. Honestly, I'm pegging it maybe at a 15-20% chance to go below 80 at this point, right? Which if it does go below 80, I expect a lot of the alts to get hit significantly, especially if it's a downfall where it is something more catastrophic and it does sustain, right? We do sometimes see these flash crashes where it lasts like a few minutes, but what I'm talking about is something more sustained where FUD gets really high, which sentiment right now makes it feel like we're pretty damn close, right? Like if the DOJ were to sell, or even them just moving that Bitcoin from that address would probably just add to the FUD here, right? Whether it happens or not, we're going to have to wait and see. As we go down the list, again, there's a lot of good options here, and it's going to be up to your individual goal, what you're trying to stack, what you already have bags of, and go from there, right? But as far as like what other things I'm looking at least in the top 50, realistically, I want more AI plays. So one I am eyeing closely, and I would like to re-enter. It would be near if it goes to like the $3.50 range, right? It is one that I did hold a heavy bag when it did pump recently. I did dump it all and go into something else. But if it dips back down, this is one I wouldn't mind jumping back into. As we go down the list, Caspa is another one of the favorites. It is at 11 cents. And again, this is one that the opportunity's been there to buy at this price point for quite a while. Pretty much these past few months, it's been bouncing between high 10s and like 15 cents for quite a while. So there's a lot of opportunities. So not a bad GCA price, but not one I'm looking forward to adding more unless it goes down under 10 cents. Under 10 cents, may add some more, but aside from that, I'm good. And again, just a lot of options here, right? So just depending on your goal, what you're trying to do, so the times to kind of be looking, right? So there's some are better than others. One that I did end up finishing my bag is in Alephium. Alephium, it's down to $1.07. You can look on the 3-month chart. Again, just back in December, we were down near $3. It's down to $1.07. So this is one that I did close out my allotment. So I have the amount that I wanted for this bull market. And this one for me is closed out, right? As far as adding any more, it's going to be whatever these little AO zeros accrue. But this is another one that that I am good. I am extremely happy with how much I've been able to accrue. And the price points, right? Realistically, it would have been nice to accrue more back when it was like sub 10 cents, but we did what we could. We got what we got, and we're happy with our allocation now. On the mining side, Chlor AI isn't at a bad price. It is down to 7 cents. If we look at the past few months, it's been going down and down. The reason I would highlight Chlor is because of a potential narrative. Okay, there's a huge Nvidia AI conference coming up in March. It's March 17th, somewhere around that. It's Nvidia GTC. And this is one that did cause a big pump last year for a lot of the AI coins, right? You can see the date here. It's March 17th through the 21st. It was around the same time last year. And this is one of those coins that did have a pump from that conference, right? If you go through the list of the AI coins, pretty much a lot of the significant ones, or even insignificant. I mean, Chlor AI is still a tiny market cap coins. Anything with the name AI or having to do with AI, or a lot of these AI agents, will probably have a local top again in that time frame. Okay, as we go back to the 1 year, look at that peak. Where was that peak? Right on March 17th, right during the hype of that show, which again, the AI narrative is going to continue to be big. That is potentially a local top. So this is one potentially to look at to accrue. Again, tiny market cap, rank number 34 million, does have a working marketplace, rank number 1001, right? So a lot of potential upside. Even if it just gets back to this top here in a few months, that's a good 5-6x from here, right? And then add the hype phase on top of that, potentially more potential, or maybe not. We don't really know, but we're going to go based off of previous narratives, previous history, and price points. Okay, another one that can take advantage of that in the mining world is Flux. Flux is down to 51 cents. This is one I did fully sell out of when it was in that dollar and change range. It did go up a little bit higher. But again, as we look at the 1 year chart, what stands out? Look at that peak. What is the date of that peak? Also March 17th, $1.63. So even if it reaches this price point, around that time of the conference again, if the AI hype and narrative picks up again, it's a potential 3x from there, right? So as far as why that's important, again, if you're a GPU miner, you want to kind of look at these narratives and see if they potentially play out again. Even if you don't have much interest in Flux, even if you don't have much interest in Chlor, if you're going to mine and sell into what's most profitable, the fact that there is a huge narrative coming up here in the short term, you have potentially 2 months to be stacking this thing, and you could dump all of it at that point and then sell into what you do want to accrue, right? These are kind of things to take into consideration. Another one, nothing to do with mining though, is like render. Again, look at the peak here. What is the peak? March 17th. Okay, so that for me, at least short-term wise, would be a focus. Again, even if I don't necessarily want to hold it all the way through the bull market, as a good short-term flip, there's potential there. Okay. Another one in the Sol ecosystem, Nosana. And there's a bunch of these, right? If you go through the list, literally anything with the word AI in its name, GPU marketplace, DPIN, because they're classifying a lot of these things as DPIN now, they're high likelihood they're going to pump, right? Is it for sure? Absolutely not. Can it go to zero? Sure, any of that stuff can happen, right? So you have to factor all that stuff in. But depending on what ecosystem you're in, you're going to see different coins, right? If you're in the Sol ecosystem, this is one that would stand out. If you're in AVAX or Cosmos, there are a lot of these coins. If you're in ETH, Optimism, Arbitrum, there's a lot of these coins that all do pretty much the same thing. It's going to be hard to pick which one's going to pump the hardest, but again, the easiest pick are ones that have historically done well or the ones that have crashed a pretty significant amount, right? If we compare the current price of Flux, again, 52 cents, to what it was, $1.63, that's potential for an easy 3x here in a couple of months, if not more, right? So just something to consider. Another thing on the GPU world, Alio. Alio's finally at a good price point to buy if it's one you are bullish on. Again, it's down to 60 freaking cents. So again, this is where if you think this is potentially a bottom, because for me, this is probably closer to where it should have been at from the beginning. Now it's at $176 million market cap, which kind of makes more sense. Now, to me, it is definitely much more appealing, right? And this is where you have to be smart with the mining versus buying thing. Because again, you can make the argument, oh, okay, just buy the coin. People were buying the dips back here, right? At $1.50 something that's dropped down significantly. Or if you were buying even worse back in October when it was, look at this freaking peak at like $6, $7, right? $5, $3, $2, like you would have got kind of wrecked, right? So it's up to you to determine like risk versus reward. Like for me at this price point, now it looks pretty good to potentially buy here, right? Because at this point, even if it drops down to 30 cents, again, for the potential of hitting, even from this point, I mean, it's over a 10x if it reaches its previous price point back when it launched in September. Okay, so risk to reward is pretty good. If it dips more aggressively, may nibble a little bit more. Is it something that I'm dumping a ton into? No. Is it something I'm buying a couple $100 worth? Sure. Right, at this price point, kind of makes sense. But this is where you have to be careful with just buying the coin. Again, this is why it's important to follow narratives, price points, because it does help you to look for bottoms. Okay, because it's only going to make sense if you're buying the coin if you think it's a bottom or a good price target, right? Otherwise, you're going to get wrecked, right? So definitely be careful with that. One that I was debating on buying a bag finally, because we did have a decent dip finally, was Okta, and I did end up buying a little bit, literally about like $300 worth. So the reason I didn't fully go in, and I may end up regretting it, is just because this is in that, AI space as far as rendering and such goes. This one actually did not pump with the others in that little rally, right? They did have a unique rally of their own in July. That's when they hit that 236 price point. So this one realistically may have even more potential just because it's one that didn't pump along with the others, right? So maybe it does follow the trend this time and it does go along with it. The last time it was sub $1, we got to go back to the initial run up at the beginning of last year, right? We have to go back to February of 24 to see this thing under $1, right? So if it's one you want to accrue, which is one I'm adding a little bit more, because typically If I'm bullish on mining with it, I am also buying during opportune times. And for me, for Octa, this is an opportune time. Is it the best time? Nope, best time was well before that when it was way cheaper. But again, this is not a bad price if you think there's potential. Again, tiny market cap has the AI narrative going for it. A lot of upside potential here. But this is what the Jazz Miner is essentially for. It's just to kind of stack it for this bull market. Another interesting one I bought, which I didn't think I was really going to buy any more of, was Helium, actually. So Helium, the reason I jumped into here is because it's been a long time since we've hit below even the $5 threshold, right? So because it finally did it there, I haven't bought. The last time I bought it was like in the $2 range, right? So if we go here, we got to go all the way back. There was this run back in June, July over the summer where it was in the $3 range. But it's been quite a while, right? Ever since it had this run up, it hit $4.21 in August, and for the most part, it's just been hovering between essentially $6 to $9, right? It's been ranging there, so it did finally dip quite a bit below that. If we go look at the 3-month chart, you can see here this is the lowest point in over 3 months. So it is one that I had been selling a lot. Whenever it hit like the $8, $9 range, it was selling. So I'm essentially just rebuying what I was selling or whatever, right? So kind of an interesting one there. We go to AVAX, we already talked about. Another one with AVAX was this recent little AI coin, this AI 9000. It is one that with this little dump, it is about the price that I initially got in. So I did actually add more. Been extremely volatile, right? Did pump up a good amount since we did that little post. And it did dump extremely hard and then kind of go back up and then dump extremely hard again. Why? Because of this recent dump, everything going on, as well as some FUD on top of that. And this is potentially why it kind of dipped as hard as it did, even prior to the dump this morning, right? So actually yesterday is when it started. And it's from X. Their X account got suspended, right? So my guess here is that people were reporting the wrong account. So yesterday or a few days ago, actually, a fake account came up, right? Essentially in order to target people to click on it, in order to drain their wallets. This is at DEIAUNCH, right? To kind of mimic the D launch. It does have a blue check mark. It does have a decent amount of followers. People, unfortunately, of course, are falling into the scam. The issue that I believe happened, those people are reporting it incorrectly. So this account, which is the scam account, is actually still up and running. The real account is the one that actually got banned. So until they sort this through, which it takes as long as it takes, sometimes it's a few days, it's a few weeks, for them to kind of sort it out and figure out which one's a scam, which one's a real one, this is probably a big part of the FUD here, right? So this is potentially another buying opportunity. So for me, I did add a little bit more. For me, again, it's the AI narrative, the AI agents narrative, potentially peaking around that Nvidia AI conference. So for me, this is more of a short-term hold. We'll see if it plays out. Maybe it goes to zero. Maybe it does a quick couple of X's here by March, right? So for me, if there is a hype with that, which again, if any of you guys saw that presentation, the 5090 presentation, you could hear Jensen talk about agents quite a bit throughout that entire conversation, right? So good potential narrative there, but again, depending on what ecosystem you're in, again, there's a lot more on Solana, a lot more on ETH. This is just one I happen to see just being in that ecosystem, which there's going to be a ton of these things. There are already a ton of these things. There's literally thousands of these AI agents. Which ones will play out the best? We don't know. We've already seen some that are kind of clear winners. They've already ran up quite a bit, and they dipped quite a bit, right? When we talked about virtuals, that one actually just dipped in half, right? It was $5 a few days ago. That one's like $2.50. So that is an interesting one. Another thing we like to look at for these dips are things that are holding up well, right? Or things that really didn't go down a whole ton. A good example, and this is one that is on my radar that I was looking for a significant dip to add a little bit more, or probably add a good chunk more, is GeoNet, and unfortunately did not dip much, right? If we go back on the chart, if we look back at the past 3 months, their chart, they've been hovering between 20 to 25 cents basically this whole time. And even right now with this recent dump, they actually went up a little bit, right? So kind of unique there. So for me, when I see that, it kind of gives me confidence that this is a good range to be buying, right? Will it dip further? Can it go down to 20 cents, 15 cents? Sure. But the fact that it held up this well when everything else was nuking, and the fact that this price range has been holding up well in general, kind of gives me good confidence that this is potentially some of their lows, right? So again, just more data points, could be completely wrong. Maybe this thing nukes down to a penny. We have no idea, but that's just the way I view it, right? Another one for you miners that's been holding up well, Ergo, right? Ergo has actually, it's dipped just like all the others, right? Not to say that it hasn't dipped, but as we go back on the 3-month, it didn't give up a lot of the earnings, right? It's still at $1.64. Obviously, it's not at the higher range where it was previously. It wasn't at the $2.15-20. It is dipped down, but it is holding up a lot better than a lot of the others. Hint, hint, Alio. So this is one of those things that kind of gives more confidence if you're looking for something more consistent to mine that may remain profitable for a longer period of time. Again, an Ergo would definitely be one. So again, if you're a miner, this is one that you want to kind of see. You don't want to just go what's most profitable, because a lot of times when that does happen, it also corrects hard, right? In this case, it is holding, right? So the fact that it's holding up this well in this market, in these conditions, it does kind of say a lot. Okay, and that goes for a lot of other things as well, especially with even ASIC mining and such. Like, it just gives more credence to the fact of how good these script ASICs are. Even in this massive dip right now, the profitability is still extremely good, which again just gives more confidence to that long-term play. Again, with whether you're GPU mining, ASIC mining, you want to look for those things, right? Especially if you're a person who likes to simplify things, kind of just pick one and roll with it. These are the types of things I like to see, right? Not necessarily extreme volatility. Not something going from $3 down to 60 cents in the matter of a few months, right? This is kind of not what you want to see if your person is doing that, right? Or if difficulty dropped a lot, then maybe yield got better, but at the end of the day, it's dropped so significantly that it makes more sense to mine anything else and buy into Leo if you're interested in, right? But that's just the way I'm playing this dip, guys. Just kind of some overall tips, and not necessarily saying to buy any of these. These are just things that I look for. So whatever's on your portfolio grouping, whatever you are looking at, whatever's on your goals list, these are the kinds of things I look for, and this is kind of how I play it. So like as soon as it dipped this, not even just this morning, just even these past few days, kind of already had price targets for certain ones, and how aggressive I would buy if they hit that certain amount, and the exact amount I would be adding, right? So like AVAX, I had a specific amount I wanted to buy. Helium was a little bit more unexpected, is just because it hasn't dipped that much in quite a while, and again, it is one that I have taken a good amount of profits on, so I just wanted to kind of replenish that essentially. And pretty much when I'm taking profits is just going into another coin, typically a smaller cap coin, or a coin that I believe just has more opportunity, more potential upside. Okay. But let me know in the comments, guys. What did you guys do? Did you guys stack anything, or are you kind of done? Like realistically, I do have cash on the side, but unless something extreme happens, again, we have to go like below 85, below 80, or certain other ones have to go down extreme where I'm gonna like just go fully all in at this point, right? I'm kind of saving just in case that happens. I don't think it's super likely it happens, but it's more of a just in case. For the most part, from here on out, my DCAing is just whatever I'm mining, right? Whatever I'm mining, I'm holding, and that's kind of it, unless I see like specific short-term opportunities. Like right now with these little AI things, these are good little short-term flips to sell into something I have more confidence in. Like for example, even the goal here with this thing, probably dump it in March if it does have a run-up, and then just sell it into AVAX if AVAX still hasn't really ran, right? And that's kind of the goal, is just to kind of further enhance those higher confidence plays, or into potentially another play. Maybe there's another narrative, because it's going to kind of keep happening, right? So whether it's this, whether it's GPU mining coins, ASIC mining coins, gaming coins, whatever that narrative is, this is where more of my focus is, right? But let me know in the comments, guys, what do you guys think? Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I am out.